order at 7 o'clock. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Trustee Bellinger?
Here.
Trustee Lewandowski? Here. Trustee Colley?
Here.
Trustee Guerrero? Here. Trustee Meissen?
Here.
Trustee Capoli?
Here.
President Steinmore?
Here.
Treasurer Stein? Here. Clerk Vincent is
Approval of the agenda, and I am sorry to say we have to add a few things. Hopefully they'll be quick. Under new business capital improvement plan, I'd like to table that until next month. Under new business resolution, it'll be Article P, resolution for the roads. Q is going to be bathrooms. Bathrooms? Yeah, bathrooms. And then R is going to be the Red Hot and Blue Festival. We're approving expenditures for some of the events. And S is going to be manning. Did you want that on there?
I will put it under as just street committee.
Oh, okay. Then we don't have to.
Thank you.
So ask what street committee?
Yeah, just
Okay.
street committee.
Okay. Were there any other additions?
We'd like to ask for an addition to unfinished business. I guess it would be item C, speed cushion location.
Were there any other changes? Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment on the agenda?
Good afternoon, or evening, sorry. My name is Abraham Asham. I've lived in Decor Park for about a year and a half now. I've noticed in the last 6 to 8 months, traffic has increased greatly. And not to mention, you know, Macomb County has been doing a fairly good job in the mornings, during school, before school, patrolling the area. I'm pleased to see that. But in the evenings, River Oaks has basically become a drag race. Blowing stop signs, and this is not just coming from me. I have camera footage, if you'd like, for reference, and it's on more than one occasion throughout the day. You know, we asked the HOA to place the speed cushions accordingly, and if possible, to maybe get another officer on traffic duty in the evenings. That's it. Thank you.
Public comment on the agenda?
Good evening, folks. My name is Tony Albicelli. I live in Decor Park. I live at 32695 Fairgrove, near where this gentleman was just talking about, near River Oaks. I've been in New Haven for 16 years, and in that time I spent 4 years as a firefighter for Lennox Township, 10 years with Michigan Army National Guard as a medical officer. I just recently got out of the Michigan Army National Guard. And in that time, I've seen the board change quite a bit. So many of you folks were on the board approximately 15 years ago when I came before the board and I asked for some help with traffic and other issues that I saw going on in Fort Park at the time. Particularly, I wanted to have some stop signs added, and there just weren't any stop signs in the subdivision at the time, or very few. While the board was considering adding stop signs, a police car, Macomb County Sheriff's police car, crashed into a school bus. After that, stop signs were added. a little late, but I don't think anybody was seriously injured from that accident, so not that big of a deal. But since then, the population in Decor Park and the neighboring subdivision, Decor North, has more than doubled. And that's a great thing, fantastic. But as this gentleman who just spoke before me said, there are concerns about traffic, particularly aggressive driving in the subdivision. Last year, I was out front of my house and there was a loud crash, and I ran out to see what the problem was. And there was a young boy, about 16 years old, behind the wheel of a Mustang, mom and dad's Mustang, and he had crashed into an 8-year-old little girl on a bike. And the reason why you guys don't know about this is because the little girl was fine, thankfully. I approached, I tried to render aid, and she was just basically like, I'm fine, and she had a little bit of a fat lip, and she was totally fine, and I was just, thankful that she was okay, but at the same time, I was thinking, what if things were worse? Case in point, last week, I saw a red Saturn SUV driving down River Oaks at about 45 miles an hour. Not only was the car going in excess of the speed limit by almost double, the passenger was hanging out the window. He didn't have a shirt on, didn't have a seatbelt on. He had his arms out in the air and he was screaming. Sure, he was having a good time. High school's almost over. Kids do stupid things. I was one of them. But when I was 16 years old and I was driving recklessly, I had an incident where a police officer pulled me over, impounded my car, threw me in jail, ticketed me, and if that had not happened, I think I probably would have continued to drive recklessly. As a 16-year-old, that happens. I'm a very different person than I was back then. I grew up to be a firefighter and a soldier. But back then, I just didn't understand the ramifications of my actions. I was full of energy and youth and inexperience. And we have a lot of that going on in our community. Not that any of these people are bad. It's just we have a lot more people now in our community, and that's a great thing. But we need to greatly increase our presence, our police presence. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll volunteer. I'll get on my knees. I'll beg. I'll donate my own money if I have to. However you guys determine, I'll back your play. I don't know if the answer is bringing more sheriff's deputies in, bringing the New Haven Police Department back, some other new idea. I think the entire neighborhood would support it. But I just ask you to consider these things and don't wait too long to act. And again, if there's anything I can do to help, I'm your servant. Thank you.
Public comment on the agenda? Approval of the minutes? Approval of the council meeting minutes for April 12th, 2022.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
All those in favor?
I just have a comment. I love Mark's reports. Thank you, Mark. I don't think he's here, but they're perfect.
Great. And we get a motion. Do we have a support?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's report?
For April 22, payroll total $65,727.76. Bills to be paid for May 22, $231,899.39, for a total of $297,627.15. The village assets total $6,035,817.46.
Make a motion that we approve the payment of the bills in the total amount of $297,627.15.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Myson?
Yes.
Trustee Pacoli?
Yes.
Trustee Colley?
Yes.
Trustee Bukowski?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
President Pridemore?
Yes.
You make a motion that we receive and file the treasurer's report.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Communications Committee reports. Clerk?
The agenda items for the June 14th meeting are due by June 3rd.
Planning Commission report?
Planning Commission was a little this evening. We spent a lot of time on the capital improvement plan, waiting for the master plan to be published, and we'll move forward with that.
Okay, Parks and Rec?
We had our Parks and Rec meet and greet this past Saturday. It was nice, successful. Our next event is the New Haven River Days for June 11th here at the village. So please sign up for that. It'd be great. Also check out our village New Haven web Facebook page. All the events for the Parks and Rec are on there. Sign up is also required as a deposit on some of these activities. So yeah, check that out.
I'm sorry, did you
Is
say
that
that?
only on Facebook?
Genevieve also puts it on Facebook and the Village of New Haven Facebook page as well.
So just Facebook again, that was the question. It's not on our website? I don't know.
It should
I
be.
think she does usually.
I think that it's on the
Usually posted on the
website,
website.
but a lot of things are
On the website?
Yeah, well, I feel like more is on Facebook than it's on the website, and not everybody. Trustee
Did you say
Guerrero, I
it
have a
was Parks and
question.
Rec page for
No, we had a Parks and Rec meet and greet this past Saturday. The residents came out and gave out some suggestions or whatnot. We also have Survey Monkey out for some choices of what they want to see in the village and the village park or whatnot. So you can also access that also on Survey Monkey.
Trustee
There is a Parks
Guerrero.
and Rec page. That agenda would probably be, or the dates would probably be a good thing to put on the Parks and Rec page.
That's my concern, that
Jenny, out.
it's only on Facebook, that it should be on our website. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's on the Parks and Rec
It's
page.
there.
with the 22 calendar events kind of finalized, maybe that's something that we can ask Genevieve to do.
I thought it was on there. I'll
Does,
definitely touch base with her.
does Parks and Rec do any kind of an email blast? I had a resident ask me that at the gathering
No.
on Saturday, and they had talked about how, you know, people are getting away from Facebook. There's a lot of people that won't have anything to do with it, and, you know, the website is fine. You have to go to it. And I didn't know if we had ever had any type of
Actually,
You know-
no, there's no email blast. I know that we've been doing more of like just like flyers and putting them to the public schools in the all schools because it's been so difficult, challenging for us to get the word out. So
Yeah. Can we ask Genevieve to look at what it would take to just to have a sign-up thing on our homepage that says you can sign up to get an email? Like the school does it, right? So you sign up and you get notices and all kinds of stuff. Half the time I wouldn't even know what's going on at school if it wasn't for those blasts, so
I'm positive that, I know that feature is on there. I think it was something that we had removed because we didn't plan on using it at the time.
yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of us utilizing it.
Well, I'm thinking if that goes on our digital sign as well, if that can go forward. I don't know if I can help with that in any way, I'll be glad to. Most people still use email pretty regularly and signing up for some type of a blast, because there was people that I don't think necessarily knew what was going on. Not that we didn't advertise it, but there's another way to maybe get to that. Nothing elaborate, not like a newsletter, just an event shotgun blast. Don't forget this weekend, yada
yeah,
yada.
because I was telling some residents we didn't know that tents were set up over here for this walk. Well, this one was color run, so we didn't know that. Also, we could have set up camp over there, but we didn't know. So the communication is kind of like following here. So we're kind of coming up with some ideas of how to better get with the communication with everybody.
And I think we also have the Alexa skill.
It doesn't work. It doesn't give out very much information. If you say, hey, what's going on in New Haven, it doesn't say anything.
Well, that I think we need to get with the chairperson for Parks and Rec, because that was updated by Parks and Rec themselves. So if it's just a matter of them updating it, because that was pretty slick. You could actually just, on your Alexa device, you just say, what's up New Haven or something like that. And it would actually say, in the next week we have the following event and blah, 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 blah. So
I
You
think
know,
that was Nick though, when he moved out of the community.
So Nick was the one who set up the skill and all that and set it up for us, but I'm pretty sure it was Tara Walden that was the one that was actually going in and entering the
Got it.
information. So maybe that just didn't change hands when she.
I'll reach out to Mark and see.
Yeah, Mark,
Yeah, and Mark, and I know Mark was familiar with it too.
Okay.
You may be able to do with that email blast, like a dual sign up where you could do a text message too, because
Yeah,
that's
that's
something
good.
we do for clients to keep them updated. Not everybody checks their email all the time, but
Yeah,
they can do a sign up and say, do I want text, do I want email, do I want both? And then they'd obviously have the option to stop. And you
yeah,
can usually set that up with any website, just a back-end CRM.
that's a really good point, because the school communication that they've been doing lately
Mhm.
has been top notch. I mean, I get a text message, I get the email, I love it.
That way you're not missing it one way or another.
About the sign too.
Then you really,
Yeah, we get the stuff on the sign.
Okay.
We get the information on the sign, but yeah.
The Parks and Rec events, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's village events, and you can see all events, and then it brings up the calendar, and it's on there. I mean, June 11th, River Days, Detroit Tigers Smart Trip is June 17th.
Yeah,
On the
July
website
15th
or
is
the
the Red,
Facebook?
White,
Where are you
Blue.
at?
that's
That's
on
on the village website.
the, on the
You
village
just have to-
calendar.
On the calendar, right?
it's not.
Scroll down to the bottom, see all events.
Right, but she has a whole list here.
And yeah, so Rachel's saying that those are entered in there.
They're in the calendar.
June 13th,
That's not.
June 11th is
um,
River Day.
this, like this one right here.
Oh, wait,
June
I'm sorry, July 13th.
July 3rd is slow down.
Nope, no, that's not on there. They're probably not all on there, but there's
What I'll do is
some.
I'll reach out to Genevieve Rodzik and we'll talk about all of these
Yeah.
possibilities, and
Yeah.
when we get together, we'll let you know, okay?
Trustee Guerrero, if we have high schoolers who want to volunteer their time, would you or someone else from the committee sign off on them to use that as their 40 hours to graduate?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay,
You can talk to her after the meeting with me.
okay, I just didn't know if
Okay,
that was even,
For sure.
all right.
Okay,
Sounds good.
anything else from Parks and Rec?
No, that's it. Thank you
Okay,
so much
good.
for all your ideas.
Fire committee report?
I'm gonna defer to Tracy because I had surgery the day before.
So, fire, oh boy, that was so long ago now.
I know.
So,
Don't defer to me.
right, so I'm gonna defer to Mario. So I'll just talk about a couple of highlights. And one of them is that the county has approached our fire department about creating a rescue task force. So I thought I was pretty impressed. I thought that was good kudos to them that they're, you know, operating a program here, that the county reached out to them and said, we want you to help us with our program. And what it is that if there is an incident and a building is not secured yet, so I'll say an active shooter, this group of individuals is trained, and they're from all around the county, so that they can all convene wherever in the county, and they can go in and offer medical care to people that are injured. So I thought, said good job, guys and ladies. They are working on a community outreach program. I really challenged them to do it, and I'm super excited that it is coming together. And I'll let Dan, or Chief Steer, introduce that at a later date. But that was really about it. The pancake breakfast, but that's over now. Would you agree, Mario?
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Okay, on to new business, we're gonna table capital improvement plan resolution until next month. We have to set a public hearing for the general operating millage and for the fire special assessment millage.
Will be for council meeting next month.
Yeah, should we do it next month, or do you want to table it?
Yeah, it has to be done next month, or, tax bills can't go out.
Ooh, okay. So we're gonna set that for 6:30 on the 14th, was it?
Yes.
Okay.
Both of them, same time?
Yeah, you can have them concurrently, but you need two separate motions.
Okay.
Make a motion that we set the public hearing for general operating millage for June 14th at 6:30 PM.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Make a motion that we set a public hearing for the fire special assessment millage for June 14th, also at 6 p.m.
Support.
Those in favor?
Aye.
And now we have the Clark Street Park Development. As you know, we have the ability to purchase 33 acres of the Clark Street property for $1. I have went to Sterling Heights, talked to the Parks and Rec Director, Kyle Langlois, who was he's a fountain of information. And I told him about the parcel, and he said it would be advantageous to the village if we acquired it for $1 and turned it into just a nature area. He said they had one in Sterling Heights, and they barely had time to just put a sign up saying nature area, and people are already charging in there. So I think for $1, I think it would be a good community asset. With the expansion of the wetlands, there's not a lot you can do with it, but there's still the ability to put in pathways, native plants. So I'm going to ask council to think about acquiring the property for $1. We have a limited amount of time to do it. And I'll bring it back at the June meeting if you guys can think of any ideas of how we can develop that park and if we want to purchase it for $1.
I thought they had those a year.
Yeah, that's what
We do every year.
You just said limited amount of time in advance. Why?
Yeah, there's a 1 year, well, now it's 10 months.
Okay.
So, but there is a cap, there's an end date to it, so. And if we decide to do it, I'd rather do it sooner than later, so.
So could you find out a few things for us?
Absolutely.
So number one would be, what is our cost going to be, not $1, but to make it accessible for people and cleaned up? And this probably can't even really happen until, well, we could do it before development starts there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the type of construction they do. I mean, it wouldn't impact the area that we buy.
Right.
I don't think so. But because there is wetlands there and Eagle is aware of it, we would have to coordinate with Eagle about any development on the property now.
But we would still be able to go in and clean up garbage and.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
And put in a little pathway.
We can mow.
Yeah.
Around the wetlands and stuff.
Absolutely.
So if we could find out what is that gonna cost?
Okay.
And we're gonna pay it, whatever it is, but I'd like to see a plan set in motion, and I think that's the first step, getting a budget.
Yeah, and to Trustee Bankowski's point, once we do purchase it for $1, now we are the ones that are responsible for the maintenance of the property. And until that point, we should also be pressuring Lombardo to make sure that they're maintaining it so that the wetlands do not continue to grow or to clean it up.
And I think that's a discussion that needs to be had anyways, is that part of the reason that the wetlands encroached was because it's been left unmaintained for so many years. So what's our plan, even if we're not going to develop it immediately? When do we start mowing? What does that look like on wear and tear for the machinery? Because if it goes too long, then it needs to be brush hogged and we have to bring an outside vendor in.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, and I do, the one thing that I do like about the map that President Bremer sent out is that there is access points from the road to the property. So, if we did want to have some sort of pathway or, I don't know if there's room for a parking lot in between the wetlands, but if there was, there's some accessibility to it.
if there's room for parking off of Clark Street, it's also probably something that we want to start discussing sooner than later, because like those houses Lombardo will most likely want to sell for a premium, and it's not a premium if it's back into a parking lot
Exactly.
versus a field.
Yeah.
Surprise. Okay. Anything else we should be thinking about before?
I mean, if we do have the year, I know you said you wanted to do it sooner than later, but, maybe we could kind of take up, even maybe if it takes more than a month to come up with some sort of plan, just so that once we do pull the trigger, we know what we're doing.
Sure, absolutely. And I'll reach out to Eagle and see what we're allowed to do with the property.
Right.
Because there are wetlands there, and, some of the wetlands they think will caused by borrow pits. So they might allow us to remediate them at some point for further land, I don't know. But I'll definitely reach out to Eagle and see what we can do. Okay? Anything else? Matching funds, Fulton Park improvement. The New Haven Community Development Fund received a $1,400 micro grant from the Greater Metropolitan Area Real Estate Group. Is that what they call it?
GMAR, yep,
GMAR, okay, GMAR.
Association of Realtors.
Right, and it's $1,400. And what I'm going to ask council if they would match those funds, another $1,400. We would be able to finish off some of the landscaping at Fountain Park and do some work at the new greenway at New Haven Road and Gratiot. Pulling out trees, adding trees. You've got the integrated sign there now. So we do want to start improving that area. When I got the area permitted from MDOT, we had to give them a site plan of what we wanted to do, and it was minimal. I put down trees, landscaping, maybe another bench, because the ship drain goes through it. You really can't do a whole lot with it. But they agreed, and they said they want to see improvements starting, and the improvements started in May and finished by September. So with the matching grant money, we can start that process. So I'm asking for $1,400 in matching funds.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call?
Real quick, trustee Mason,
Yes.
trustee Pankowski,
Yes.
trustee Guerrero.
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger.
Yes.
Trustee Procoli.
Yes.
Trustee Polly,
Yes.
and President Pryble.
Yes, thank you. DPW seasonal help, traditionally we try to hire 2, and Marcus, is that $12 an hour?
Yes.
All right, so we like the approval to post 2 seasonal help positions at $12 an hour.
Make a motion that we approve of hiring 2 seasonal workers for $12 an hour.
So, Marcus, will you find someone will you find 2 people for $12 an hour?
You won't find anybody for $20 an hour.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
We got one last year, though, didn't we?
You say what?
We did have one last year, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We already have one lined up, actually.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Employee Relations and Internal Review Committee, Mr. Picoli.
So last month, a resident and myself brought up some concerns about conditions in the office. And at the time I suggested that council do something, either, form of a committee or whatnot. And since that time, I had numerous other people reach out to me and talk to me. And so that, to me, reinforced the need that I think maybe we do have to have a committee to kind of take a look at kind of what we're doing internally. I don't have any finalized idea of what this committee should look like. I was going to have council decide, but I was just going to bring up the idea of having something in place to perhaps look at how we're handling things in the office, or maybe not even limit it to the office, between departments, if there's any kind of obstacles or something that's getting in the way of making people's jobs efficient, it can get brought up there. It would be a secondary means of I guess, issue resolution, in case the current channels we have aren't working. So, I talked to a couple of council people about it before to, gauge if they thought it was a good idea or not. And I got some positive, some negative, but I do think that we do need something in place to handle some of the issues that the office personnel are having right now.
It would be no different than, say, a fire committee, right? That's why we do that, is to kind of get with the fire department to see if there's anything that they need help with that might be able to.
And when the fire committee first started, that's kind of what it did. There was obstacles and there was challenges in the way, and the committee just kind of brushed those off to the side, and now it's functioning as it was intended. So this would be a kind of an all-encompassing committee, right? So maybe we wouldn't have to have specific committees for those purposes. Maybe, right? Depending on what we want to do.
Say that again, so you wouldn't have the fire committee?
It could be an all-encompassing committee, so that any relations for employees, I think is what he's saying.
Oh, within any department.
Yeah.
So,
No, I probably not.
Yeah, so when the fire committee, right now we're looking at, their budgets and their forecasts and everything like that. And I think that's what the original committee, or on paper, what the committee is supposed to be doing. But when it first formed, it was because there was questions in what their budget, what they could do, what they couldn't do, things like that. There was challenges that they were facing, and the committee cleared that up, right? So if we had an all-encompassing committee, something like that, you know, take the place of, something along, you know, along those lines.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That actually even makes more sense to me, right, that we do, you know.
That it's not just employee, it's just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even have a name for it, that's why I have these over here, whatever we want to call
Got a
it.
name on it right there.
Yeah.
It's got a name right there. Says, I'm reading Trustee Picoli runs the internal, no, I'm just kidding.
But that's why, like, internal reviews, like, it's not even, like, it started because of an employee issue, right? But it doesn't have to be limited to that, right? It could be something a little bit bigger, I don't know if I'm thinking $2,000 here, but.
Yeah, I mean, I know with the one employee that recently left, you know, when talking to her, trying to understand, you know, what some of the concerns were, you know, some of the things that were brought up was just, you know, that you see money being spent in areas, and then maybe in other areas you don't see that attention or that, you know, and you know, if I wouldn't have reached out and talked to them, I wouldn't have known. And maybe that's something that it could have come up in in this employee relations internal review committee. You know, why don't we paint all of the office and all of the internal areas of the building instead of only, you know, one or two offices or just a certain area of the building. You know, stuff like that. Maybe those are, you know, things that could be brought up and we can walk and tackle.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I think we're going to continue to see growing pains. We're going to continue probably to spend money in places and not in others as we're growing, because you don't know until it's pointed out.
Right.
Yeah. Like, for example, right now, we're looking at BS&E software for online permits, which would be something that the committee could look into and kind of get estimates and figure out. I think it's kind of a good idea. That would be part of the function. So.
I actually love that, because then you can pull too to see if like it's been done.
Yeah, well, it's been done, yeah. But I mean, it would cut down on a lot of people. So we're looking at, you know, upgrading systems, and it was a good idea. So, do I have a motion? Take a motion?
I will move that we form a committee to review our internal workings, I guess. I don't know the name of it, but we can come up with something. How
about operational committee?
There we go.
Yeah.
Bingo, that's
Village operation committee.
Village
Awesome.
operational committee.
Support.
So probably moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And guess who's going to be on another committee?
Yeah,
I will volunteer to be on that committee because I have since learned that I am lacking on committees compared to others.
Really? You just figured that out?
Are we leaving that and fire department in place until that's up and running?
Well, I think fire is separate.
Yeah, fires, we're not, the
If we
challenge,
have-
everything the fire is already done, right?
Yeah.
But I think we should visit that, right? I mean, why couldn't they just be part of its operations?
Yeah.
Maybe not right now,
You just
but
combine a couple of committees.
it's about a voice, and they have one, and we shouldn't stop that, obviously, but, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and eventually maybe the police committee could be also encompassed into that as well.
And the streets committee. It's all expensive. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. But it's, you two wiser minds can figure this out, let us know.
Do we want 3 on the committee?
I'll go on the committee as well if you're looking for a third. I'm lacking as Brian is as well, so I don't think you are, I think I am, but, you know.
Okay, retail fraud ordinance. Mr. Kelly?
For some time, the village has treated retail fraud as a civil infraction. Unbeknownst to us, the incidents of retail fraud that we're aware of are extremely low in the village. However, the sheriff's deputies have been writing tickets under the Michigan Penal Code provisions, which we have not incorporated by reference, and to my knowledge have no authority to incorporate by reference into our ordinances. As such, my office has put forth this ordinance, which will match what the state law has as to retail fraud, making it a 90-day misdemeanor, $500 fine, as opposed to merely a civil infraction.
to enact this ordinance.
So we have the number.
Yeah, do we have a number?
397.
Do we have a motion or any questions?
Does this increase the penalty for committing retail fraud in from the state?
No, it does not. It's-
No. So is this?
If you look at section 7 is a penalty. It's a, I mean, the most that we can as the village anyways, under our own ordinance is 93-day misdemeanor.
So my question would be, is this already a state law?
Yes, but we cannot utilize the state law. Right? We have to have our own independent ordinance for this retail fraud.
Okay.
That's why. And we do not have this ordinance at present. Again, because the reason this has been, I think, overlooked since my office became village attorney for the past 4 or 5 years is because there's really not many incidents of this at all.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance number 397, an ordinance securing the public health, safety, and general welfare of the residents and property owners of the Village of New Haven by prohibiting certain acts and conduct constituting retail fraud, prescribing a penalty for the violation thereof, and repealing all ordinances and/or resolutions in conflict therewith.
Support.
Say that 10 times fast.
Can you repeat that?
Sure, Joe rolls a little.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, workers' compensation renewal. Sandy, can you talk about this?
Workers' compensation.
Yeah.
This is, we got our bill for workers' compensation for $11,084 and asking for renewal.
I'm sorry?
Workers' compensation renewal.
This is an annual.
It's an annual, it's recurring. It's down from last year, I think it was $12,262. We have a membership with MML, so that keeps our costs low. We did get a rebate. I can't remember what the rebate was. I think total that was $32,000, and then we got a rebate of almost $15,000, I think it is. So the net bill for our renewal is going to be $11,084.
The dividend was 11,529.
So it's $11,529.
That's the amount? or is it-
No, that's the dividend, the total premium, annual premium for that is 11,084.
Just figured, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm just asking approval for that.
I'll move that we renew our workers' compensation with MML in the amount of $11,084.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Trustee McCauley?
Yes.
Trustee Dyson?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Polly?
Yes.
Trustee Bunkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Ballinger?
Yes.
President Craigmore?
Yes. Okay, ways and means, Tracy, do you want to take this? or-
Why don't you?
Okay.
Because you, the only reason I'm saying is you took these minutes, so you probably,
Okay.
I mean, I can go through the list if you'd like.
No, that's okay. First, thank you to Tracy for stepping up because we didn't have, yeah, no, we didn't have enough people on the committee that were actually able to make the meeting. So thank you for stepping up, and we were able to hold the meeting and get a direction on some possible expenditures. So thank you for stepping up, okay? We held a discussion on the American Rescue Plan fund disbursement. As you know, we are getting 2 different tranches. Both of them are $257,000 for a total of $514,000. And I think we got an additional $10,000 from another community that opted out. We had a discussion about what we'd like to spend the money on. And we agreed to propose the following disbursements from the first tranche that we've already received of $257,000. A recommendation to council is that $40,000 be used for a fire utility vehicle. $110,000 reimbursement for the SCBA packs purchased by the fire department, and $107,000 for park improvements. Now, retiree health care, something that I came up with, we have employees here that will work a full 25 years, and they get a cake and they're out the door. So I would like to ask council if we would approve a small stipend for retirees, paying for Medicare Part B if they work for the village for 25 years. That would ensure that our retirees get at least Medicare. It is a legacy cost, but it's incremental. Right now, I think Medicare Part B is in the $140 range per month. If council would approve something like this, the retiree would send a letter that you get from Social Security every January telling you how much your Medicare is going to cost you for the next 12 months and how much you're going to get monthly on your check. So I'd like council to think about that as kind of a thank you to the employee for 25 years or more of service. So the committee agreed to move the proposal forward to council along with the methodology to reimburse the employee. And then we discussed peripherally the capital improvement plan, and we've already been through that. Firefighter cost of living stipend. The commission approved sending information to council about a lump sum cost of living payment to the members of the New Haven Fire Department. Discussion was also held about the base wage paid to on-call personnel of $15 an hour. Chief Steer said other agencies pay anywhere from $18 to $20 an hour, but indicated that the current fire department budget may not allow for additional wage funding. We have numbers on hours and wages spent quarterly to bring the numbers for a one-time lump sum cost of living payment for the fire department. I'm going to bring that up at the June meeting, along with a possible cost of living adjustment for our clerical staff and DPW, and now including the fire department. And I've already talked with the Teamsters president, and he's suggested we put it as a letter of understanding when we reopen the contract for wages in July. So that'll be coming back next month. And staff pay, the committee discussed current wages for clerical and DPW staff. Discussion was held about increasing base wages to a more livable level that will be rolled into the base wages again at the July wage reopener, and will be used as a new base wage for future contract negotiations. Committee also requested President Pride will reach out to DPW's Marcus Gilbert to see if the fifth position needs to be filled, or if some of those wages could be dispersed to the current DPW personnel to raise the hourly rate. So if council would like, we can bring all those figures to you at the June meeting. If that's okay? Okay. And I'll get more figures on the retiree health care if it's a possibility for retirees. I just wanted to bring this concept forward so everyone could think about it.
I do have one question. The 40,000 and the 110,000, those are expenditures that we already incurred, right? So
right, we could be reimbursed for them, but even if you're reimbursed for it, you still have to spend the reimbursement on Treasury approved projects. So, but we can apply for reimbursement for the stuff that we already have.
Just want to make sure it wasn't something new.
Yeah. No. Any other questions? Okay, and I'll have those figures ready before the June meeting. Disbursement of the ARP funds, we've went over these at the Ways and Means Committee. And I'm going to ask for council to approve $40,000 for the fire utility vehicle, $110,000 reimbursement for the SCBA tax, and dedicate $107,000 in the first tranche for park improvements. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to accept the numbers as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Roll call, please.
Trustee Bunkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Meissen?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Trustee Colley?
Yes.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
And President Craig.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Meiston, can you tell us about the proposal for additional Macomb County Sheriff's Department deputies?
Sure. So I passed out to everybody their paperclip packet. There was some updated numbers that the person was able to give us that accounted for real numbers, as well as there are some wage benefits for shift differentials. I did communicate to Lieutenant McPherson the intention of proposing that we have 2 deputies, one added to afternoon shift and one added to midnight shift. So the number here also reflects the shift premiums for afternoon and midnights. So I guess so you have one sheet which has the table as 2022 through 2024. In the packet that I gave you, I also gave you an updated proposal sheet where I updated all the numbers there. So I'm not sure if you guys had the chance to go through and really look at all the statistics, but in a nutshell, while the village population has increased by 2,000, the number of calls has doubled. And for every call that our deputies are responding to, it's some taking them off of the street, off of the road, and taking them away from being able to do traffic enforcement, community involvement, and so on and so forth. And as the police committee met and talked to Lieutenant McPherson and really tried to understand, what are the dynamics, what are we dealing with. I think, I speak for all of us on the police committee that, since we signed the contract with Macomb County Sheriff's Department, we really only signed up for 1 deputy per shift. And we have never increased that. The population has increased, but we haven't increased it to reflect that. We do have a reciprocity clause with Macomb County Sheriff's Department. So right now, our current deputy, if they're responding to calls within the village of New Haven, if there is a call that comes in Lennox Township that, is a high enough priority, there is the chance that our deputy could go to Lennox Township to respond to that call. But it is reciprocity. So if we have a call here in the village of New Haven, their deputy from Lennox Township very, very often could come into the village to help and back up our deputy on calls. So, although we only are paying for 1 deputy per shift, if you call an emergency in, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get 2 or 3 that might respond, thanks to that reciprocity clause. What we're proposing here for the police committee is, so it'd be 2 additional non-replaced deputies, and what that means is that if the deputy is out sick, if they take vacation, or if anything happens that for whatever reason they're not able to be on shift, they wouldn't be replaced, they wouldn't be backfilled. So we just wouldn't have that additional deputy for traffic enforcement purposes for that shift. We also, with talking with Lieutenant McPherson, there is the ability that we can flex the schedule a little bit so that if we know that we have a big event that's coming up, family days or some other Ornament Blue Festival, right now when we ask for additional coverage, we do have to pay for that. We could dedicate our 2 extra deputies, the afternoon and midnight shift, to help us out with that event instead. So they could flex out their shift and work it out so they could be there for the event, and it kind of lowers the cost of the additional deputies that we're paying for our events. So I talked with Lieutenant McPherson. There is the ability to get monthly traffic enforcement reports, so we know how many times are they pulling people over, how many tickets are they writing, where are the hot spots, where are the heat signature for the village. And then the proposal would be to at least start with having the 2 shifts, 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the midnight shift, and continue that through 2022. In December, we can revisit, we can review the police committee or the newly formed employee relations operations committee, whatever we're calling it. Whatever committee it is that we decide that's going to have the oversight, we can reconvene, look at the reports, see how effective it is, You know, I think that what this hopefully should accomplish, you know, we, as some of the members here in the audience mentioned, you know, in the mornings, call volumes are relatively low. I mean, there still are calls that come in the morning, but the morning shift deputy has the ability, you know, in the downtime, especially around when school is, you know, having their drop-off times, they're able to do traffic enforcement around. My wife was just telling me today about seeing multiple people pulled over on Haven Ridge, which is awesome to see. You know, we want to send a message, or at least I personally would want to send a message that the village of New Haven isn't, you know, somewhere that you go speeding through. You don't go speeding recklessly through our subdivisions. You don't go speeding recklessly through the residential areas, through the 25-mile-an-hour areas at Haven Ridge. And I really believe that having an additional deputy, one in the afternoon, one midnight shift, 100% dedicated to traffic enforcement, that this would send a message. We have that presence and that visibility that there's somebody patrolling our streets, making sure that, you know, speeders are getting caught. People blowing through stop signs are getting caught. And even, you know, the additional bonus of the midnight shift as well would be that, you know, if there is downtime, you know, they're in the residential neighborhoods, they're seeing if there's any activity going on, you know, patrolling the subdivisions, making sure that we're not having any issues with breaking and entering or people that are messing with vehicles and all that sort of thing. So, all that said, the subtotal that we have here, if we were to do it for just the rest of this year, I'm estimating 7 months, although Lieutenant Pearson would have to correct me if, you know, if he thinks it's viable of getting somebody that quick to be June through the end of the year. Maybe it might end up being July through the end of the year, depending on how fast they can get somebody on. With the 2 deputies, the 1 vehicle, that comes to about $210,879. That is the street community proposal. Does anybody, and Lieutenant McPherson is here, so if anybody had any questions that they wanted to direct to Macomb County Sheriff's Department, that he offered to be here and help answer any questions.
Have we looked at the budget on how this gets paid out? I mean, you know, I can look at the fund balance and look at what's in the fund balance. That's not the same as looking at what our gives and takes are, right? And saying we can, you know, there's always going to be an affordability question, right? So that's prorated monthly. That's going to take our monthly bills from, what's it, this 279,000 to what, you know, and because there's a consequence at the other end of that. So I think there's headspace on it available, but you know, you're talking about a significant increase monthly.
Yeah, I know that I believe it was discussed at Ways and Means, or maybe it was reviewed at Ways and Means, or there was like...
It was just a general discussion. I didn't know what the agenda.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things that Lieutenant McPherson mentioned was that they have the academy that's graduating soon. So if we were to, you know, approve it, it would actually work out in our benefit that, you know, we could post for the opening, and then, you know, we'd be able to hopefully get some fresh folks that could step in. You know, it wouldn't be as hard to get a hire.
The vehicle cost on this, so is that buying an additional vehicle? So we'd have 2 cars that would say New Haven on it then?
That's correct.
Yeah, and one of the things in the PowerPoint presentation that I submitted for the packet, you know, the $31,000, really, I mean, when you think about it, it's all maintenance costs. You know, it's your oil changes, it's your, you know, any issues that arise with the vehicle. One of the statistics that I had on the statistics page of the PowerPoint presentation, I had a number there of how many incidents there were for damage to equipment or damage to vehicle. That's all stuff that with Macomb County Sheriff's Department having that contract, stuff that we don't really have to worry about or pay for. I know that this always comes up about, you know, well, we're approaching a high number. Why don't we just do our own police department? Well, if it was our own police department, we're paying for those oil changes. We're paying for buying these vehicles. We're paying if the vehicle gets damaged, if there's a car crash with the vehicle. we're paying to fix it. If there is an accident and the vehicle is out of operation, and then we have our own police department, what are we gonna do? You know, we'd have to somehow backfill that vehicle right away, or else that officer's not gonna have a patrol vehicle to use. Whereas with the contract with having the Macomb County Sheriff's Department, it's, you know, it's on them. They have to, you know, have the vehicle available. So if there was an accident, if the vehicle's totaled, they're gonna have to get one to replace it with. And it's really all unseen cost to us, because we still have just that $31,000. So to me, it is a benefit of the contract that we have with the Macomb County Sheriff's Department.
Sandy, how does this impact the budget?
Well, I have to find out numbers that Brian just talked about, but I do know that we are in our contract right now paying 4.2. So how many would this additionally be? One more. So that was almost $200,000. I think that was to add one more person.
200.
Our fund balance policy says 25 to 30%, so that's like $500,000 we have to keep in the general fund, because this money would be coming out of the general fund. And we would probably, right now, we're getting an extra $200,000 with the increase in taxes this year. From what I had budgeted of $1 million, or $1.2 million we're getting, so that's $200,000 right there. That could cover it, that we weren't initially had. So we could do that, but with the total that we said for the next year was $339,000, we have to think about that one for sure, because we still have road construction that's going to be hitting the general fund also, and we wanted to look at the sidewalk rehab for Elgin Clark, which is coming out of the general fund also, and that was like $220,000. So we already, right now, are talking about $257,000 already out of the general fund. But with all that said, we still don't have $1 million in our fund balance. I think we can take it on, as long as we don't have any higher, more expenses and stuff like that. But you had brought up about Manning, that's $600,000. We'll have to sit down and figure out where that money is coming from, because we're hitting our highway fund for $185 for the Clark and Gratiot project. That's our portion, not the grant portion. So we'll have to be doing that too. But highway's sitting at $1 million too. So we do have funds to be able to handle what you guys have been talking about tonight.
And the proposal for tonight is only for 2022, so, yeah, if we decide to keep it for 20.
It's going to have to be really bad, yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to revisit it for 2023.
So through a Ways and Means Committee again, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, we could have whatever committee look at the reports from the Macomb County Sheriff's Department to make sure that we still think it's a viable solution, and then as long as it passes that, then we can take it to Ways and Means and get the approval through there for 2023. Right?
And we'll have this information for next month's meeting.
Sorry?
We'll have the information available for next month's meeting.
What information?
You said you were going to have Ways and Means.
No, so that, we were talking about if we wanted to continue it for 2023. So
Oh,
that would be more around
okay.
the December time frame.
Yeah, okay. So right now you're just looking for approval for 2022, right?
Yep, 2022 for, so it is, admittedly, it is an estimated prorate, so it's roughly 210,000. I took the, so in the packet that I gave you all, there was, the total price was $339,294. I divided that by 12 and times it by 7. So 7 months worth, assuming that we actually get somebody in right in June.
We still couldn't vote until next month, right? We'd have to see the contract, then vote on the contract change, which we can't do tonight, I don't think, right? I mean, we could vote to have the money available, but we can't.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because that's going to have the actual numbers going to have to be in the contract, right? I mean, we couldn't just, I don't think you could do a not to exceed on this, right? Because it's a contract and we need to see the actual contract, so.
At that price point, we get
Yeah. And the only other thing that I want, because you know, as we talked about this, I decided to reach out, ask a few folks. I think the majority of it, well, I didn't find anybody who's not in support of it, but there's some skepticism out there about metrics and knowing, you know, and seeing it, right? So I think there's and I think that's, you know, we need to talk about the realistic expectation in that. Is there an expectation that people would see a presence then Because we see it now, but it's arguably, there's criticisms that we're paying this much and you don't see it, and we did inadvertently have coverage for the color run. I think one of the deputies was just driving by, seeing people running, and caught somebody running the stop sign on River Oaks in front of Salt River Circle in River Oaks with runners, went straight through, didn't even hit the brakes to find a sheriff's deputy on the other side parked. So hit him up with the lights, kid, gave him a warning, but anyways. But that visibility and that metrics is, I think, going to be pretty critical, because I think if we did go forward with something like this and people couldn't feel it, see it,
Right.
see the impacts, then that we could get a visceral reaction. I think I would have a visceral reaction
I
to
think
it.
in general, like, the metrics really are important, and not just, hey, we stopped this person and gave a warning, but like, that's been a uniform complaint among people in general, is that when they do call the police department, the opinion is basically they have a bigger fish to fry, and so a warning is issued, or it's not our problem, or, and not in those words, please don't take it as that, but like, oh, well, that's an ordinance, so that's the responsibility of code enforcement, when it's really not. And so if we could, I mean, we've had a lot of that back and forth, even come in front of us, and so if we could say, here it is in black and white, this is what we've done, and not just issued warnings, but these are the enforcements that have taken place. And to the gentleman who spoke earlier's point, like, that is huge, right? My son, when he first got his car whipped through, got a ticket, and we were like, SOL, have fun. Like, pay it, that's what you do, that's, so like, warnings are great, and I know everybody when they get pulled over hopes for one, but that enforcement, I think, is where we see it lacking.
What about court time? Is that included in this? Court time is?
Everything's contemplated in that. And I think unofficially, with the police committee that we, have formed, and we've been meeting with Lieutenant Pearson on a regular basis, even on top of that, unofficially, it seems like Lieutenant and I have been spending a lot of time on the phone and emails and whatnot, and so, as I do hear concerns in the village, or, that we are having issues, I've been funneling those through to the lieutenant, and he's been able to, then send that out to either if it's a traffic issue, or if it's a concern that a resident has reported, where that, we just recently had a concern where somebody said they called dispatch and they felt like they didn't get an appropriate response. Lieutenant McPherson was really able to, talking with him, we actually talked for a half hour about it, about, really what is the expectation, or what should the expectation be, and what can you do and what can't you do. There's also this perception that, if you see something that, you call the police department and boom, they're going to be there and they're going to get a ticket, but it doesn't necessarily always work that way. So one of the goals of the police committee is also public education, not only with the public as a whole, but even just ourselves. I know between Mario, Tracy, and I think talking to the lieutenant, we really learned a lot about all the stuff that's going on with the department, the benefits that we have with the contract versus if we were to try to open up our own police department. Some of the things that we can and cannot expect. So, I think there's also some education stuff that we need to do as well for that.
So I think we definitely do have a problem with speeders, with the increase in the run numbers. So can we get a contract for next month? And if we have the rest of 2022 for a pilot program, see if it works, if council's agreeable to that? Okay, can we do that?
Do you need a motion to draft the contract, or to have them draft the contract?
I think they would, right?
Right, they would have to draft the contract.
So if it's going to be at the June meeting, would the contract be drafted to give them time to do it like July 1st of the year?
We have to get the numbers from county finance, and then it has to go in front of the board of commissioners, and they have to approve it. So you're talking about a little bit of time here. So hopefully we can push that through as soon as possible, but we're almost into June. We're trying to get it on the committee, the public safety committee, get it through the board of commissioners and get it pushed through as soon as we can. And then obviously procurement of a vehicle. So there's some things, some dynamics trying to get it I would like it, if it is approved, in place as soon as possible. It's just making sure we have everything to go. So that number can be prorated as if it's not June, if it's July, wherever it is, we can work with that number, and finance will adjust that accordingly. So.
Do I have a motion to move forward with the contract?
Yeah, before we make a motion, if I understand correctly too, is that, so we do have the existing contract with Macomb County Sheriff's Department. So really what we're asking for would be an addendum to the contract to add the additional two deputies, one for each shift, and the car. Would it be something that, because it's an existing contract and we're asking for an addendum, would it be something that we could approve not to exceed a certain
Is it
amount?
Well, I think that's a question for the lieutenant. Is it possible to make it an addendum? Or do we have to start from ground?
Yeah, I'd have to talk to our corporation counsel. I mean, I don't see that being an issue, but Mr. Kelly, if you.
So we did with Lennox recently.
So I think that's not an issue.
So Lennox approved it in an amount not to exceed?
I don't remember that. I don't recall, to be honest with you. I think we actually worked the details out beforehand, yeah, and then, yeah, we did not, no. It was a sum certain.
Because if we did that, then in theory, right, they draft up the addendum, President Pridemore signs it, and then we would be good to go from there, right? We could do an amount not to exceed since we have the
And
numbers
to think
here.
about the addendum.
Yeah, if it's an addendum, do you still have to bring it in front of all the committees?
Yes.
Okay.
That would at least then give him the jump start that he could take it to his committees.
Would you feel comfortable using the figures you just gave council?
Yeah, I mean, I took the 339,294 divided by 12 times by 7, so.
Are those numbers all right?
According to my finance director there, he's a wizard, so. For the rest of 2022, that number for 2022, I mean, he projected out, so I don't, I wanted the most up-to-date numbers, so I don't foresee that going over. If anything, I think we'll go under that by the time we get everything in place, so.
Okay, do I have a motion to move forward with an addendum in the amount?
I have a question on that.
I just wanted to tell Mark that was part of my skepticism at the committee level as well, that I didn't want, we can't change people's behavior. We can bring on 20 officers, but it's not going to change people, and I don't want the public to think that there'll be a behavior change, that it is going to take time for them to see multiple vehicles. But should I use your analogy, Mario?
Which one?
About
My driving?
sometimes if there's a police officer, we see a police officer over there, we drive differently over here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
So,
because you know there's only one officer in the entire building.
right. Well, now if I pass two, I'm being glass half empty, but
I mean,
Now you have twice the chance
I
of.
was gonna say, we're
Right, I
not,
just-
we're adding, there's no new one, there's two,
There's
right?
two, correct.
So, that's a difference,
Right.
right? So it's
but I
no new one.
But you have the perception.
agree with what, I just want, if I could finish this. I agree with what you're saying, Mark, and I want us to be vocal about this to the public because I
Right.
don't want a misconception to happen out there. Because we add this on, July 1st, July 2nd, everything's gonna be different.
Oh,
It may
yeah.
not, and it's coming at a large
Right.
cost.
Yeah,
So-
I'm with Trustee Pelkey and Trustee Cowley, like, I thought we were going to, correct me if I'm wrong, the speed cushion, the speed bumps. I thought we were trying that first, like you said, it's kind of like that last second thing, I don't know if it's a big expense, but I think we're trying that first, to see, let's be sure some of that speeding and stuff.
The speed cushions, I believe, so the speed cushions, that's a passive thing that's going to be there 24/7, right? So it's going to hopefully slow people down wherever that's installed, but that's only where it's installed. So you still have the entire village.
And beyond that, it's just not traffic issues.
Right.
We've had other runs that are increasing, our population has increased, our law enforcement.
Yes, I understand that, but again, I'm kind of like the Trustee
Yeah.
Cowley.
It's not just the
The data
traffic, but
speaks
the
for
call
itself.
volume has
You
doubled
can't deny
too,
that.
so,
Right.
I mean, there is traffic, that's probably the reason why this was formed, because that was the main concern. But the call volumes, if you look at the totality of the village, has doubled too, and the police coverage has stayed the same.
I have to say though, as a village resident, and I drive, a lot through here, sheriffs are out on Gratiot, Hayden Ridge, I mean, I do see the presence, so maybe I'm not seeing something the other residents are seeing, but I do see them. I get one too. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't get no one. I get a ticket. So,
All right, any other questions or comments?
What's the bottom line number?
So bottom line number
210.
should be the 210,879.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to add on 2 deputies and 1 vehicle for the remainder of the 2022 year. Revisit for the future in December for not to exceed $210,879.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Bukowski?
Yes.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
yes.
Trustee Meissen?
Yes.
Trustee Colley?
Yes.
And President Piper.
Yes.
So where's the car again? Just kidding.
All right, now we're up to the general code, updating E-code 360. Allows the price to update 12 pieces of legislation. And they will codify and supplement the legislation listed. And up to 6 sets of supplemental pages, insertion of cross-references, all the magic that they do. The price would be between $3,355 and $3,999. Do we have any questions on the update for ordinances 384 through 395 to add the E-code online?
We just added the ordinance tonight, would that also,
No.
No.
No, that'll be ours.
okay. And we have a waiting period, to publication period,
Well, the
right?
problem was it was COVID, and then they wanted it quarterly, and then now they're taking them as of June, so it'll be more up to date going forward.
Is it cheaper to do loans?
No.
Any other questions, concerns? Have a motion?
What was that dollar amount again? I'm sorry.
Price between, not to exceed
But that's
4,000.
I'll make a motion to, renew purchase,
Add 12 pieces of legislation.
add 12 pieces of legislation, thank you, Brian, to update E-code 360, not to exceed $4,000.
Support it.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Bukowski?
Yes.
Trustee Meissen?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Percoli?
Yes.
Trustee Colley?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
President Piper.
Yes. Next item is the Comcast Prime franchise agreement renewal. Sandy, can you speak to that?
Well, we have to renew, I can't, because they sent me the contract. We have
Oh.
to renew to be able to broadcast, or for them to be here to record and put on YouTube for us. So this is the renewal for that. Yeah, the contract is in there. It was in the packet.
I can tell you we get 12,000 a quarter, if that makes up the amount.
And what was the dollar figure on that?
It's just, and now I've lost it. Oh, we don't have
Everybody's looking for the.
I know.
Everybody's looking at little tiny
Yeah.
print.
That's pretty bad.
This is terrible.
We can see a space where you fill in the fee percentage, but.
Oh, they pay us.
Oh, they pay us?
Yes, $12,000 a quarter.
Let's make it 20.
Doesn't say that.
Yeah, so wait, we said that?
Wait, yeah, this is something different that I was thinking of then. What is this?
Okay, yeah, maybe we could.
This is our right-of-way franchise fee for Comcast comes through the village.
They pay us X amount of
They
dollars.
pay us,
Oh.
for the first quarter, we got $12,160 for them to have the right-of-way through the village.
I was confusing this with something else.
Okay.
My fault.
So do we agree to the figure, or should we ask them for a lot more?
Oh, you don't
How
bring,
much can we
no,
get?
it's just a resolution stating that they will, that we give them the right-of-way.
Do I have a motion to approve the right of way for Comcast?
Support.
Properly moved and supported, all those in favor? Opposed? Community center heating and cooling. As you know, our community center had window air conditioners. We lost one. I forgot if it was the end of last year, but we did get a quote to replace the furnace with a Bryant furnace, condenser, getting new ductwork and sheet metal in the front room. And the quote amount was $31,723.68.
Has sales tax on it. There's only
Less
one.
the sales tax.
Yeah.
So it's $29,928.
Yeah.
We don't pay sales tax, right?
We don't pay sales tax.
Okay, so it's $29,928.
Can we RFP this? There's a lot of.
Did we get any other, well, we have,
We have been trying to get quotes. We had a couple of people to show up, but not got a quote from. These are the only people that will quote us, and they're the only ones that, they said they can't get to us until in the fall. So we're having a hard time finding people that even do any kind of work. In the meantime, over there, there's one overhead unit in the pantry, and I don't know, once a week, we have to send DPW over to start it and stop it or whatever, it doesn't stay running. The one up front is not vented correctly, and the CFMs are not appropriate for how many capacity of the community center is up front, so that has to be taken care of also. This also includes having air conditioning in the building too. The only one that's working is the one way in the back where nobody goes, so that one we have to replace. But when it's all done, said and done, we won't have to do anything else to that building block, and we take that back from us. We have to take the air conditioning units out of the windows, and we have to replace those windows on the south side of the building. And that's probably going to be the last thing we have to do in that building, I think, isn't it about saying so?
It can't get to us till the fall anyway.
He can't get us to the fall, so maybe we can find some stuff, but it's been very difficult to get anybody to quote us. We also did get a quote too, of course, the panel's not big enough for anything that we want to do. So that was the $7,000 from Light Electric that we had sent to you guys also. So $37,000 to update the heating and cooling in that building. So that's where we stand.
Since they can't do anything until the fall anyways, can we table it till next month and maybe put a couple of us on? I'm happy to sit and make phone calls. I know
Sure,
we've got a
sure.
commercial HVAC company that's based right here in New Haven that may be able and willing to come and quote.
Okay. Sure. We need some help because we're not getting anybody to come in to do the quotes for us.
and we do have to upgrade the building. I think we just did the roof on it. We did some wood that had to be replaced down at the building, it was in bad shape. So, is it okay if we do table it till next month and get?
Sure, I don't have a problem with that. Only thing is, she doesn't have any air conditioning over there. She's having trouble keeping the food safe and stuff like that too, so I just want to put that in the back of your mind. S&P is also from the New Haven area. They're graduates from New Haven, so we did get a lookalike person that, actually they're the ones that did the rooftops here. So we know they're reputable.
Yeah, they're a good company. Since this wasn't going to be done till the fall anyway, we're still going to have to address the cooling issue over the summer now anyway.
Right.
So we'll have to figure out if we can use a wall unit or something. Yeah, we're going to have to.
Well, the one wall unit in the community center is working.
Okay.
Not the wall unit, window units.
Window unit.
Sorry.
We have nothing.
I don't know.
No, it's like a garage. They can open the windows,
Right,
but
I
it's still
mean-
gonna get hot.
Can we, yeah, well, I think they don't have any windows, do they?
No, it's a garage door.
It just couldn't help us find some people, and we'll work on trying to get some more people in and try and get some quotes, but we've been doing this since last fall, so
Yeah.
anybody has any contact.
This has been on since last fall, you said?
Last fall.
We could always
It's
look
hard to
at
get
a,
anybody to do anything.
No, but this, I mean.
But we can
all due
also try,
respect.
yeah.
we could look at a swamp cooler to set in that big area, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's gotta be some sort of solution we can come up with.
Maybe we can just get an estimate to get up to Lowe's or Home Depot somewhere, whatever, just get a
Yeah, get a
swamp
couple
cooler, one of those
swamp
big
coolers,
fan
yeah.
swamp coolers you put in there, just fill it with water, run water to it. It's better than nothing.
yeah.
Well, and honestly, if we jump on this, I mean, who knows, we may not have any more success, but maybe if we make some calls, we don't have to wait until the fall.
Exactly.
Okay. We'll table this until next month, and we might get to work on it and see if we can fix our community center.
Mrs. Cardinal, can we use the ARPA funds to pay for that?
I don't know.
Just ask them.
We could definitely look at it. though. Okay, now we go to the resolution for the roads that was provided by our village engineer, Mr. Safe. We're applying for $250,000 in funding from MDOT to perform full reconstruction on Channing Street from Amherst to North Bradford and to Chenault Drive, approximately from Clark Street to Shirley Ann. Just as Mr. Larson brought up, Manning Street, if you go down Channing Street, it's in fail. So we're applying for grants to repair the roads. Do we have a resolution number?
I do, it just wasn't ready, it is 2022-007.
Twenty 2022-007,
Yes.
Yes.
thank you.
Do we have any questions?
This is for next year.
Yeah, it's for next year, right?
And this is the grant funding though, right, so it's,
Yeah,
This
it's
doesn't
annual
impact-
grants. We didn't get any this year, but, and we'd have to match the funds, so we'll have to keep $250,000 in mind if we do get it. Which we're gonna have to fix the street anyway to complete. I drove down it today and the center of the street's gone, so.
so with doing these, it would be matched, but then if we wanted to do additional streets next year, that kind of takes that out of the equation. Funding wise, what's that?
This application is only for Channing and Chenault. And we have to submit it in the next couple of weeks for next year.
Yeah.
And the maximum is 250.
Make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2022-007, a resolution to establish a request for funding, designate an agent, attest to the existence of funds, and commit to implementing and maintenance program for the full reconstruction or rehabilitation of certain streets within the village of New Haven, funded by the Transportation Economic Development Fund Category B program.
Support.
Moved and supported, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, now we come to our park bathrooms. The park bathroom quote that we got from Envision Finishing, and we've used Envision for the DPW renovation for the cold storage building, and they're an excellent company, and again, we're facing challenges getting quotes. It's almost impossible to get quotes anymore. So this would include removal and installation of new entry doors for the bathrooms. They will be upgraded to steel doors, and we will make sure that the doors will work correctly for timed locks, so that if somebody has a function at the park, we don't have to manually lock the doors at 3 o'clock, the bathroom doors at 3 o'clock. They could be remotely locked after whatever function is going on. Installation on door self-closers, removal and installation of FRP, what is that?
It's,
Do we know what FRP stands for? And all connectors on the walls. Existing FRP has been altered and damaged, needs to be replaced. New rubber bases, removal and installation of ADA compliant toilets, which is very important, along with the handrails, and removal and reinstallation of sinks. They will be positioned again to be ADA compliant. New faucets, valves, toilet paper dispenser, to cover the electric outlets on the outside, and painting and prepping. Dumpsters included in the price, and we don't have to get permits for the alterations. Proposal amount was $15,400.
so with that all being said, Marcus and the DPW have already replaced the toilets. So we're not even gonna look at that quote, get just use all that. What I'm asking for, is just for the door replacements. There is a quote that was attached to that called Citywide, and the doors were $4,500 to put steel doors and new door jambs and stuff like that for both the bathrooms.
So Envision's not doing anything?
No,
We'll do it.
no. He's
Really?
Yeah, I don't think that quote is justified. I think
Yeah, we appreciate that.
it's way over.
He's replaced the toilets already, and we had to get Sloan.
And we're gonna have the handrails and everything, ADA compliant?
ADA compliant handrails, we've already installed the ADA compliant toilets, automatic flushers, automatic sink, touchless sinks. We've already installed, with the baseboard, we can pop that out, repaint it, put it in. We're gonna do it ourselves.
Okay, great.
We'll do it. It's just it might be some rainy days. Right now, we have one out of order, and then we'll jump to the other one, but we'll just have to, one bathroom sometimes for the time being, but it shouldn't take too long. Rainy days, we'll just work on it. Like tomorrow's gonna rain, we'll be over there working on it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So we're looking for approval for
The Citywide door.
the doors.
So these will be the ones where you can lock and unlock remotely, so
That's correct.
Yeah. And the doors come prime, total is $4,475. Citywide Door Company. And again, I think we tried to get other quotes and it just didn't happen, you know.
But so the citywide door company does include the remote locking and unlocking?
No,
So-
now we have to go the next step, go to SYO. And direct security, ask them to get a quote for the automatic doors. And at the same time, we're gonna be getting quotes for cameras also for the park.
Yeah, for the exterior, yeah.
Huh?
Not for the bathrooms.
For the exterior of the building.
Yeah. No,
Exterior doors are currently residential steel doors, we're getting commercial steel doors. And the strikers are actually equipped with what you need to remote lock them. So that's what the citywide door will install, but all the other ins and out will be hooked up through SYO, all that stuff.
So this is not just a door, it's a door that has that capability.
Yes, sir.
You have to, okay, so if I'm looking at, how many doors are we talking?
2.
I know, they're expensive. But also too, the door jams, we're gaining like 2 inches on each door
Yes.
too for ADA
88.
compliance and stuff like that, so.
Currently, the door jams they're skinny, so they're not really ADA compliant. Also, the thresholds are ADA compliant. These are going to be ADA compliant thresholds installed. And the whole thing.
And the 4,475, that's for both of the doors.
Both doors.
Yes. Right.
And you said SYO, they're gonna do the programming.
They have
for
to
the door.
program
Do
the
they
lock.
provide the hardware too?
Yeah, we're gonna have to get a quote from them or die.
So you don't have that quote yet?
No, because we had to get the doors installed before we go to the next step.
Then they'll come out and do all the configuration and all that stuff. We can still lock them and
This has been a long process.
But then they'll do the configuring.
I have a question which has nothing to do with money, but like, is there a fail safe so that like if somebody's in the bathroom and we remotely lock them at 3:30?
Yeah, you
You can unlock
You
from
can
the
always
inside.
exit.
Okay, and is there a sensor so that if they're coming out of the bathroom and they realize that they're locked and they're propped, somebody is, like it is called to attention?
You asked too many questions, I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
No,
If somebody's in the bathroom and we end a function, so let's say it locks remotely at 3 o'clock, somebody's in the bathroom, kids are still playing in the park till 5 or whatever, so in order to circumvent us.
If somebody rattles an alarm.
No, I'm saying like, if the kids are there, they can slide something in, prop it open. Is there some kind of a sensor that says, hey, the door's been propped open for an hour so that they're not just gaping all night?
Yeah.
So I know most smart home locks, I mean, it's not gonna be the
Right.
equivalent, but
When it's
most of the
propped.
smart home locks, they know if the door is open or
Yeah.
closed.
Just thinking of, there used to be a vacant elementary school in the summer, and then the cleaning crew would like prop a door so they could go in and out for cigarettes, but they would always forget it, and then we could run the halls at night and get to the vending machines that we weren't supposed to be eating from.
Bug life.
So,
Yeah, no,
You see the
bug life.
previous resolution about sheriff's deputies needing to be
Yeah. Okay.
We're gonna use your
includes
number.
bathroom monitoring.
yeah, right, perfect, great.
Okay, so do we have a motion for the doors?
Make a motion that we accept the quote from Citywide Door Company in the total amount of $4,475.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
Trustee Burkholz?
Yes.
Trustee Colley?
Yes.
Trustee Bunkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. President Harden?
Yes. At your desk, I got some figures from the chair of our Parks and Rec Committee, Mark Hashik, about some of the modules they'd like to rent for the Renewal Blues Festival. Last year, we had axe throwing and bounce houses. He got a quote from a company called Party Works, and it looks like the total for several events is $3,073.35. That does not include a generator. I think, Greta, correct me if I'm wrong, he's still looking at some stuff?
Yes, he is.
Okay. So what I would like council to do is to approve an amount up to a certain point. There's also going to be a face painter involved, which is another $300. So would council, I'm asking council to approve an amount not to exceed $3,900 for the activities at the Red Hot Blues Festival.
I see down here that it says additional staff, 250, and I think last year, if I remember correctly, it was last year, wasn't that, I think they were all manned by PNR.
Yeah.
So this, they actually would have people that would be manning the,
Yeah, they have their own people. The company we used last year, they just let us take care of everything. So,
that's nice.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we accept the quote from Party Works not to exceed $3,900.
Support.
roll call, please.
Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Colley?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
Trustee Burkholz?
Yes.
Trustee Bunkowski?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes. And under unfinished business, we've got the contract employees lump sum cost of living analysis. Because,
Street committee.
oh,
Good night.
oh, I am so sorry. Scribbled, I couldn't read it. Go
That's
ahead.
okay. So I did forward in that paperclip packet that I sent everybody. I also had a letter from Sumet about Manning Street. So I don't know if anybody's had the opportunity to drive up and down Manning. It is awful. It's really bad. Although DPW has been able to, in the past, they've been able to, patch it and try to kind of hold the seams together, but it's crumbling apart. The amount here, and actually I thought it was interesting, the total estimate we have here was $600,000, but I think in the capital improvement plan, we actually had like $680, so we had even more on that for the capital improvement plan. I'm not proposing that we bypass our current process that we have in place about RFPing and making sure that we follow our process. So as much as it pains me to say that unfortunately this is something that we're not going to be able to do this year because of it, it's just we don't have enough time to get it scheduled and follow the correct process. I at least wanted to highlight that, we have the crumbling roads and we really need to take care of these issues. What I did want to bring up is that, the street committee needs to reconvene, get together, and come up with a plan for 2023. My understanding is we had a plan for 2022, but we didn't move forward with it.
We didn't get funding for it.
Yeah, so we definitely need to make sure that we stay on top of it because we do have the money. We have a lot of money in the local roads, and it's really unfortunate that we have a lot of these roads that are crumbling and we're not acting on it.
How much money do we have in our local road, Sandy? Isn't it like $350,000,
$350,000, I think, is all.
$350,000?
We won't know the end results until, but I haven't got the totals for our population either yet, so we might get, I want to say we might be getting $160,000, so we'll probably get about $410,000, just on the local side.
And we're doing a 27 mile in Gratiot, realizing.
Yeah, we are doing that.
And we are doing $200,000 in sidewalks.
Yeah, and I recognize that. So, basically just the streets committee, we need to reconvene and come up with a plan for 2023 and make sure that we're doing, more projects. Although I know we just approved the resolution about Channing and the other streets. So that's my update.
And I have a meeting tomorrow with 3 people from the National League of Cities. We have been assigned a grant coordinator, and they asked me for 3 areas of grant funding that we're looking for, and roads was right at the top of the list. So what they're going to do is I'm going to be hopefully applying for a safe roads grant funding opportunity for the federal government. We have, I think, $1 billion available nationwide, but we're looking for also additional sources of funding for our roads because they're in such bad shape, and there is a lot of funding available out there. We just have to apply for it, and now we have a mechanism that'll help us do that. So we're trying to stay on it.
Sounds good.
Okay. Was there anything else? And you're right, this street is horrible. I drove down it. Did you go down Channing?
I feel, I've seen that too. I feel really bad having to tell our residents that we just don't have enough money.
Yeah. But that, and the thing about the Pacer radio is, when you see the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s take a ride down the road.
It's, and to me, I was talking to Trustee Percoli about it offline, and it's a little confusing to me or deceiving, because you see a 1 for asphalt, to me, doesn't look as bad as Manning does. But I know, Shermet explained to me, it also is, you're talking about percentages and how much of the road and the surface and blah, 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 there's a lot more involved. It's just, Manning is just really bad. And I really feel bad for the residents.
Channing's the same way, the center of the road is.
Channing is really rough.
Channing's very rough. But yeah, that's, we should keep that in mind, and that's the point of a capital improvement. Like, we keep all this in mind. Okay, contract employees lump sum cost of living analysis. As everyone is aware, inflation is at an all-time high. Our employees at their wage point are probably facing challenges. So we asked Sandy to come up with a one-time cost of living payment for our employees. Does everyone have this spreadsheet in front of them? Okay. So for our contract employees, it looks like a one-time lump sum payment altogether of $8,062. And for our fire department, it went to a 2%, this is all 2%, minimum pay of $50 based off 1 quarter earnings they're paid quarterly. So we do have a sheet here for our firefighters, and that total amount, $3,616. Again, this is discretionary. We don't have to do this. A lot of communities are doing it. I just talked to the Teamster president. They're incorporating it in the contract as a memo of understanding that it is a one-time cost of living acknowledgement. So the question is, would we like to extend this courtesy to our employees? Not only to tell them how much we appreciate the work they do, to incentivize them to remain employees.
I brought up last month when we were talking about this, you know, I think, to me, the 2% isn't enough. You know, but I also would even like to see it, instead of it being a one-time lump sum, that it's maybe even a permanent increase.
Well, we're going to be discussing wages
Right.
that would be rolled over in future contracts that we can discuss next month. Because I went back on the MML website and did comparables for communities our size and our revenue point, and there could be some improvement there. And I'll bring that back to council for the June meeting.
Yeah. So I know that, you know, so we already had the 3% increase earlier as part of it. So the 2% would then be bringing them up to 5 with that lump sum, with the increase that they would have for the year, which is nice. But we know that inflation's at 8, so we're still not even matching inflation. I do see here that thank you for putting the numbers together, that we can see what the 2%, 3%, 5% is. You know, between the difference between bumping them up to the 5% even, so that we're matching the cost of living, or the inflation. I don't know how the rest of council feels. Maybe I'm just.
No, that makes sense to me as well. I mean, I would be on board with that.
What percent did you say?
5%, so that we would be matching the inflation at 8.
So we need to make an adjustment on the paid on call to 5% as well then, right?
And again, this would be a one-time memo of understanding for any contract employee.
So I'm also noticing Dan is on here twice. Is that on delivered or?
He's
All the
talking
things are
about,
on your place.
No, he's here, then also on the paid on call as well.
Oh.
Is it an extra?
No, I think he just went through the line and just
Okay,
did the numbers.
when I'm looking at the total, I just want to know if it was, if we were going to do this or that, so he was there.
The figure's the same, it's 1,070 and 1,069, so it's either or.
Oh, I see what, yeah.
I'm not saying it's here.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, he did one set of figures, Steve did another set of figures, so that's why it's on it twice.
what's that?
It's the relatively the same number. With the
Yeah,
5%.
here.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally would like to push for the 5%.
Any other questions, comments? Do you have a motion?
Real quick, and when are we going to do this? When is it going to be dispersed?
July 1, probably.
And then we would have the wage negotiation.
Yeah, and then the wages come up.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to do a 5% cost of living agreement.
Support.
Roll call?
I want to include that that'll be fire department.
Well, I think the fire department is the next one, item B, right?
So this is for the.
Okay, all right.
Contract employees,
Okay.
correct? So the first motion we need to do is for the contract employees, right? And then the MHFT is the next one. So yeah, so I make a motion. Do you want a dollar amount or?
5%.
5%, okay. Yeah. So motion is in.
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Trustee Polly?
Yes.
Trustee Colley?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
yes,
Trustee Bunkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
President Craig?
Yes.
When's the effective date? July 1.
And do I have a motion for the paid on call?
make a motion that we do a cost of living adjustment in the amount of 5%.
Okay, and on both of those lists.
Well, right, yeah, so, not to include chief steer twice. I'm sure everyone.
And that's a lump sum, correct?
Yeah, one time.
A one-time lump sum, yes.
So they're gonna have to go back and adjust these numbers up, right?
Yeah. Do I have support?
Trustee Capoli?
Yeah.
Roll call?
Trustee Myson?
Yes.
Trustee Capoli?
Yes.
Trustee Bunkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Ballinger?
Yes.
Trustee Polly?
Yes.
President Feinberg?
Yes. Okay, the cost of living adjustment we just covered for the fire department, speed cushion location.
So the last item in the packet that I had brought forward for everybody, just to give a little bit of background. So, you know, at the last month's meeting, we approved of the purchase of the 2 speed cushions. The purchase has been made. I believe they're still en route. I don't think we've received them yet. No. When it was brought up, though, talking to Macomb County Sheriff's Department and you know, that the plan was to utilize both of them on Haven Ridge, there was some questions about whether or not the speed cushion could be used on Haven Ridge. And, you know, so it kind of opened up the thought of, you know, well, wait a minute, do we really want to do both of the speed cushions on Haven Ridge, or should we have one there and one somewhere else? So we have at least some differing traffic and can see what the different impacts are. Putting them both on the one road, it doesn't really give you that much of a difference in a trial. So what I'd like to propose is, you know, as you heard from 2 residents in Decorah Park, and, you know, I've voiced my concerns quite a few times about speeding in Decorah Park and that, you know, Decorah Park is a cut through from Gratiot to 26 Mile Road. I understand, you know, last month's meeting, we were concerned about construction traffic, and that's why we didn't originally pick putting it in Decorah Park. Since then, I've talked to the residents along River Oaks, trying to better understand where the construction traffic really is. From my understanding, Lombardo is doing a lot better job of staying in Decorah Park North. They're not going through the subdivision as often. It's very, you know, far and few between, and from what we can tell, the construction traffic that is going by, they have the extended wheelbase, and they probably would make it over the speed cushion okay without even really hitting the cushion itself. So my proposal, and it's based off of, so if you look at the picture that I included, Fairgrove Street is the horizontal street at the bottom where the distance measurement starts at 0. That was where the little girl was hit on the bike by somebody that was speeding through and not really paying attention. At the top of the map where we have the 642 feet, that's at River Oaks and Salt River Circle. There's a stop sign there. Both the stop sign at Fairgrove and the stop sign at Salt River Circle are so commonly blown through that people don't even stop for the stop sign. It's ridiculous. Macomb County Sheriff's Department has really done a larger effort of patrolling both of those stop signs, trying to make an impact to get people to recognize that there is a stop sign and that they need to actually use it and slow down and stop. But my thought was if we were to put a speed cushion between the 2 stop signs, that would then force people to slow down, and hopefully we would actually get them to then actually obey the stop sign as well. So my proposal or question to council is if we could, instead of having both of the speed cushions be on Haven Ridge, if we could reallocate one of the 2 for the trial to River Oaks in between Fairgrove and Salt River Circle. That would then give us 2 differing dynamics of, you know, road conditions and street traffic and all that.
This would also be putting them right by both of our schools.
True, exactly. Because we have this, so this speed cushion would be positioned where people that are coming in for school drop-off, they would you know, have to drive over it. Anybody cutting through the south, they have to drive over it. And with this location between Revere and Salt River Circle, there's no going around it. If we were to put it up elsewhere, like on the boulevard or further down on River Oaks, there's the opportunity that they could go around it. whereas this location, you can't go around it. The other positive with this position is that it doesn't interfere with anybody's driveways because it's in that section of River Oaks. All of the driveways are either on Ravine Street, Fairgrove Street, or Salt River Circle, so you're not impacting anybody's driveway.
Now, this is a test phase, right?
This is just for the trial, yeah. This is so, hopefully if it goes well, we can get additional cushions, as needed, and that can help.
These are movable speed tables, right?
Yeah, they are. I mean, so you are drilling holes into the concrete to then bolt these down to the concrete. So if we do decide that we want to then take and remove it and put it somewhere else, we would have the holes and the anchors and whatnot we would have to deal with. But, we fill them in with epoxy or some sort of solution, and that'll hopefully stop it from further breaking down.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
So just looking for support. I don't know if we need a motion for it or not, just, is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
What came out of this no parking signs in there?
We did,
We got it.
Mr. Gilbert, did you ever get
No parking?
the poles? They're on back order.
Yeah, they're on back order. We still have got.
Yeah, the poles are still on back
We
order.
had the signs, we've had the signs for a long time.
Yeah, but the poles, we're having a hard time getting the metal poles, but I have to admit, since we put it out to the residents in the subdivisions where we were going to put the sign, they were parking in their driveways. So that's a good thing
Yeah.
too.
It just helps with visibility if everybody's not on the street.
Sure, but I think that a lot of the residents got the hint that maybe they should use their driveways or garages. And again, the issue mostly is in the afternoon when people are home. During the day, you could shoot a cannon down the street and wouldn't hit anything, so.
Hey, Marcus, when those come in, if you can make Arlington a priority, there was a situation I was watching the other day with a bus had to sit and wait because right in front of that Lombardo, they were side by side. Yeah, side by side. So when you get that in, at least one at the start of Arlington by Gratiot that said no parking here to corner, it technically covers that whole street. So it just needs one right there. So.
Okay, so we can move that in. We ordered the signs to warn people there, so.
Yes, I said you put the order for the signs for the speed.
Okay, great. All right, call from the floor.
Good evening. Earlier this evening, I passed out a couple of bits of information to the board. The first was a email that I received from the president removing me from the CIP committee based on an assumption that I intended on suing the village over the 47 acres, which I think was a little premature. To date, there's been no lawsuit filed. Well, I did have a conversation with Mr. Kelly. I don't think I ever said that I intended on suing the village, but I did respond to a question from him. What do I need to make this right? And I think my response was an acknowledgement by the village that there was 2 offers on this property. And you can read through the emails, and they're somewhat difficult because they kind of print out in reverse. But on the front page, when you look at the timestamps, we were told that there was another offer on the table that had been on the table for 30 to 45 days. And then a question was asked, was our offer ever presented? And the answer was yes, to the seller's owners. So either the agent didn't share it with the village, or the agent shared it with the village, and whoever received it in the village did not share it with council. And all I wanted from day one was an announcement. Look, I understand that the council has the right to reject any offer. But to flat out say that a second offer didn't exist is a crime. And when it's said in a public meeting, that makes me feel like I'm being called a liar, when I know there was an offer on the table. So what I want this council to do is, let's find out who's lying. Either the agent didn't share it, or the agent shared it with someone here in this building, and they didn't share it with the council, or they shared it with the council. Maybe the council did receive it. But there was a second offer on the table. And for me to be removed based on an assumption, I think is a crime. And believe me when I say I'm going to find the answer in one way or another. And I hope it comes from this board right here. Thank you.
Call from the floor.
I just want to commend the committee. I enjoyed working with them, and I appreciate the council's time and consideration in the matter of the sheriff's office. As always, I'm available. If there's any concerns, questions, comments, I am enjoying working with the village and developing our relationship. We are available for any events. I don't believe I knew about the color one. I don't think I got a request to assist with that, but we are always available to help. And I would invite any member of the council, if they'd like to ride with me on afternoon shift and get a good purview of the sheriff's office and our operations. You have an open invitation. You're more than welcome to come ride with me and see everything that we have to offer. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. But thank you very much.
Calls from the floor. Call from the table. Okay, concerning the second offer on the property, I confirmed with our real estate agent, Matthew Vale, on 3 separate occasions. I asked him, did we receive another offer? The real estate agent told me no. I asked him at Greco Title when we did closing, and I confirmed right in front of the young lady at the title company, Cosmo Lombardo, and I asked him right in front, did we get another offer? And he said no. So we never received another offer. When I received information that there was the possibility of a lawsuit, and I did receive that information out of abundance of caution, if the capital improvement program involved property that potentially might be involved in litigation, that's why I asked you to step aside. And I also asked you to step aside if the planning commission had any conversation or votes on the 27 Mile Road property. Again, I was going in, making a decision based on information that I had, but I'm very happy to hear that there was not going to be a lawsuit. I appreciate that, but I asked them to be set.
I'm not guaranteeing that there won't be a lawsuit because I haven't gotten a proper answer yet.
Well,
you're telling me that Matthew Vale said that there was no offer when I know in fact there was an offer.
Okay, well then you'd have to talk to Mr. Vale.
And if it takes a lawsuit for this all to come out, then that's what I'll have to do.
Well, please understand, I asked 3 separate times.
Okay?
Because another offer would have been competition. It would have been better for the village. But I asked him 3 separate times just to make sure.
You know, and to remove me from a committee based on a possibility.
I have to be cautious. No, I have
Cautious is one thing, but you're making an assumption that something's going to take place in the near future or in the future.
And that's why I did it.
And I don't think, we should overreact based on an assumption. And that's just, I mean, if the village had been served, then I think what you did would have been proper. But the village hadn't been served.
Call from the table. Ladies and gentlemen, do I have a motion at 8:59?
Motion at 9 o'clock on the dot.
Do I, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.